Hey everybody, welcome to Empower. My name is Brent Carey. If you are new to the channel, please like and subscribe. And if you're not following us on YouTube, please make a point to do that. We're trying to cross the 1,000 mark on YouTube, so that makes a big difference, and I appreciate you doing that. I've been looking forward to this conversation with Tony Sherock. Tony is a health behavior coach. And I thought it'd be great to have Tony on and talk a little bit about setting ourselves up for success in the new year. We're 2 weeks in, and I know statistically a lot of people have probably all of a sudden, probably fallen off with maybe some goals, some intentions that they set for the new year. So we're here to kind of talk about ways to stay on track. Tony, it's great to see you. Welcome.
Brent, always a pleasure. It's been a while, man. It's been a while.
It has. It's good to have you here. And I do want to mention too, we are live. So if you have any questions, you want to jump in, join the conversation, please feel free to do that. We're on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter tonight. And if you just want to say hi, that's great too. So it's great to have Tony here with us. And Tony, before we get started and talk a little bit about developing habit strategies that work and things like that. How did you get into coaching?
Actually, it was my wife, because it was a random call at Red Robin, Brent. This was 2011, 12. I don't know when it was. It was just a random call that went to me, and I didn't know. I'm a little flip phone. So then I'm sorry, I don't even know who this is, so I'm not answering it. And then we're sitting down at Red Robin with the family. The kids are tiny. And so my wife got a phone call, and it was just basically a really dirt cheap price for a year-long gym membership. And she's like, I'm going to do this. So it's like she did it. And she met up with a trainer who, my wife went in there. She had no idea how to work any of these machines or anything. Right. And so she connected with the trainer. The trainer said, you know what, you could do this too. You could get personal trainer certification. She did. That inspired me. And then from there, I realized becoming a personal trainer also helped me because it was basically, I wasn't never lifting weights. I wasn't doing any of that stuff. It was that just wasn't me for like 40 years. I didn't do any of that. So then, from there, I just realized after training people, you realize, well, if I'm only seeing you 2-3 times a week for, let's say, 45 minutes to an hour, I'm really not getting in between the ears. This is where we make the changes, right? Because what I do with you for, 1 hour on a Thursday, I don't know what you're doing the rest of the week. And we haven't really built any habits except the habit to come here. But maybe pizza was your pre-workout dinner and Burger King's the post. You know what I mean? So we want to make sure we're getting all of that stuff connected. So it's been an interesting journey. And then realizing, the habit aspect, people just have interesting habits. That's why it's always interesting working with clients, because it's always different with each person, but there's some commonalities as well too.
And full disclosure, Tony and I worked together for a long time, and I realized before we got started tonight, I was like, I have no idea how you got started in coaching. Because you were in television, then education for a long time, and then transitioned into coaching. So that's really grown for you. And now, as we get into, talking about habits and things that people can put into, practice right away, what kind of drew you into that? You mentioned that it was kind of the mental part of it with the gym, with working out and staying on track, but that must've been something that you were really seeing with your clients.
Yeah, well, that, but also my own story. My own story when I was looked at, being 50 pounds overweight and just went to the park and started walking. But then I realized all these little things, these little decisions you're making, it's either going towards your future, healthier self, or non-healthier self. So whatever decisions you're making, it's kind of like that compound effect. It's always good. Something's happening either way or the other, right? So that's where I really started to realize, wow, all these little things are happening until I got into the Tiny Habit certification. That's when I realized, wow, all the stuff that did work, I can look back and see, all right, there's a formula to this. I didn't know it, but there's a formula to this. And all the things that didn't work that I continually struggled with, that sometimes you start and you quit and you start and you quit. It's that hamster wheel that keeps going around and around. I realized, wow, okay, the components that I need to build habits weren't there. Right. So now it's kind of nice if I want to start something new, and for clients as well too. And sometimes we even start, if it's, let's say it's weight loss as an example, a variety of reasons why people would want to be health coaching with me or any other health coach or trainer, whatever the case is. But let's just say it's weight loss. A lot of times what we'll do is we'll build habits around things that you don't have any emotional baggage around. Let's teach you how to build these habits. Let's teach you the formula to do this. So therefore you can find success, and maybe it's a relationship, maybe it's productivity, maybe it's organization, whatever. And so it's kind of fun. And you realize, okay, this is how we do it. Now let's get something that really means something to you, and let's do the same thing. So now there's a connection there. So that's, it's an interesting way of going about doing things, but it worked out really, really well.
Yeah. And when you're talking about tiny habits,
yeah,
go into that a little bit if you could, because you're a tiny habits coach, and it's a whole system. So when you're talking about tiny habits, what does that mean?
Basically what we're trying to do here, we're trying to eliminate a few things. Number one, eliminate the time aspect, because time is one of the biggest barriers for people to not succeed with their goals, right? So because we're so small, and maybe you're stressed, that may be not just a good option for you, but it's probably the only option at that point. So also too, we're eliminating the whole willpower motivation thing. Willpower, as we know, after making so many decisions throughout the day, cookies and ice cream sound really good at 8 p.m. You know what I mean? So we want to make sure that we're not relying on motivation. We're not relying on these things. And because, working with very, very busy professionals, and most of them are in that midlife range, late 30s, 40s, 50s, you're busy. So we want to make sure that we can incorporate something that you want to do, and then basically implement that somewhere in your existing lifestyle with no resistance, something that we could just do automatically. All right. And then watch it grow. That's really what it boils down to. So we got three things we're working with here. Ingredients. We're working with motivation. We don't want to rely on that, but basically what I mean by that is we've got to find something that you want to do. What is it that you want to do? Because we can't try to force something. Not what you should do, not what, Beth is doing next door, or your coworker. What is something that you like to do, that you want to do? Let's find it a situation where you have the ability to do it. So if you've never done push-ups, and push-ups is something you want to do, we're not going to start with 35, right? And then we have to have some sort of prompt to get that going, right? So once we have those three things, and it's like the algorithm to a habit. Sometimes it may not work at first, but that's the whole thing. It's basically a recipe, right? If you put too much hot pepper flakes in your dish, right? We want to make sure maybe we back off on that a little bit, or cumin or ginger or whatever you want to put in there. So really, we're just playing with it until we get it right. And where most people sometimes fail is, oh, I didn't get it right, it's on me. And all of a sudden, that go big or go home mentality, it's going to lead to disappointment and self-criticism. So we want to make it so small that we don't have that. I think your audio went out, Brent. I can't hear you.
There we go. Sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yep. Can hear you.
So, when you talk about the big list, I think about starting the new year, and so many times it's like, I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to do that, I need to change this. So you have this huge laundry list of things, and it's too much when you're talking about changing habits. So when you're talking to somebody and they say, well, here's what I would like to do, and they have their 25 things. Yeah. Where do you start with something like that?
Well, it's a lot of times it all depends on the person, but it's really doing a little focus mapping, what it boils down to. Because sometimes you may want to do something, but we have to find out what is your why here, what's your goal, what is your aspiration, what do you want to get accomplished? Because if you want to get something accomplished, and I'll just use weight loss as an example, or just you want to get off medications or whatever, that is your goal. Want to have more energy, right? All right, so then we're going to brainstorm. We're just going to brainstorm all the activities that come to mind. It doesn't matter how small or big they are. What's something we can do one time? What's something we can do daily? What's something that we want to stop doing? So it's not about building habits sometimes. That's the first place we'll start. But sometimes it's not breaking the bad habits, but it's untangling the bad habits. So the communication and the verbiage we use for that is very specific on that. But we just got to find out, what is your goal? Because if you want to do all these things, and then we ask you the question, it's like, okay, do you want to do this? It's like, I don't think I can do that. I don't want to do that. Okay, well, if you're not feeling the little right now, you're not feeling that adrenaline rush right now, we're not going to do that thing. But we're just going to find maybe 1 to 3 things that it's something that you want to do and that you can do, and we'll make it super, super tiny. And I'll give you an example here. This is just one person. I've done this with many people where we talk about the 80-20 rule. The 80-20 rule is 80% of the time we're doing healthy stuff, making healthy decisions, and 20% we're having some fun. All right, that's great. It's called balance. I love it, because I'm never going to give up pizza and donuts, and nor should you. You got to have some fun. So anyway, I'm with someone, and we called it, we joked around about it. We call it the 5-95 plan. All right, so 5% of the time he's eating something healthy, making healthy decisions. 95% of the time, not so much. So it's like, where do you want to start? And we just brainstorm a bunch of ideas. And he goes, I know I should do it, but more importantly, and his language was good too, because he's catching on. He goes, I want to drink water first thing in the morning, because the first thing I do, it's usually coffee, and it's a lot of sugary coffee stuff. And it's like, I want to drink water. And I said, well, that's great, because honestly, that's a very healthy start to the day. You're the most dehydrated when you wake up. So if we can drink some water, this is fantastic. So he goes, but I keep forgetting how to do it. So it's like, okay, how about we do this then? Right? Let's find, we got something you want to do. That's motivation, right? So we're utilizing that to say, what do you want to do? We don't want to rely on that. But then it's like the ability to do this. He goes, but I hate water. I don't want to drink water in the morning. It's like, okay, well, how about we just start with 2 ounces? Well, what's 2 ounces going to do? That's the next question. It's like, well, how many ounces are you drinking now in the morning? Okay, none. Okay, so 0. So, okay, how about we start with 2? So now the ability factor, you can drink 2 ounces of water, even when you're not motivated to do it anything. You could probably suck down 2 ounces of water. It's just a gulp, right? So, but if you're highly motivated, you'll do more. So next thing you know, it's like, okay, well, I could do that. So I said, just fill it up to 2 ounces, but we got to find a prompt. So let's find a prompt in the evening or the morning. What do you do? And we kind of broke down his habits. And he goes, well, I set my coffee pot up. It's like, okay, great. So that's something you do automatically, right? Yes. All right. So now this is basically the formula. After I put my coffee pot together, right? Because that's an anchor habit that's already happening. We don't have to think about it. He goes, I'll pour 2 ounces of water in a glass and put it by my coffee pot. I said, that's it. Right? That's good. So next thing you know, first thing in the morning, he goes, first thing is a habit, right? Go to the coffee pot. It's like, oh, there's the water. So it's like I drink 2 ounces. But then 2 ounces led to 4 ounces, then led to 8, then led to 12. So that's a growth habit right there. Growth habit means it's going to go however high it's going to go, however you want it, and it's going to stay right there. So he's capped it off at 12 ounces. With the beautiful part about that is on days he didn't feel like drinking 12, he just drank 2, right? So the motivation, when it's high, the ability factor's there. When the ability factor's there, motivation's low, we could still make this work and still continue the streak. But the beautiful part is this was also a transformational habit, or a habit where all of a sudden he started drinking more water during the day for lunch. All of a sudden he started bringing more fruit to work. And this stuff happens automatically now. And next thing you know, he was more aware of this. He was building confidence with this, and then he started moving more. And next thing you know,
so that prompt
that
sounds like a key thing, and that's just simply like having something visible, right?
Exactly.
So the water by the coffee pot, or maybe it's, you know what, I need to, instead of buying fruits and vegetables that I don't eat, having them more visible so they're right there, and that's your choice instead of chips.
Yeah, exactly. And so it doesn't have to be perfect, but that 2 ounce water habit turned into a 12 ounce morning habit, turned into more water during the day habit, and turned into not feeling guilty about having a Dr. Pepper here and there, which he really enjoys. And that turned into losing 10 pounds in that year without doing any working out. And that also led into dropping one medication and lowering the dosage of another medication. So we're talking cholesterol, we're talking blood pressure, all because of 2 little ounces of water, right? So again, It's not adding any resistance or friction. We're not going the go big or go home mentality. We're just, and that's one habit. That's one of a few that we started with, because they're so tiny, we could start pretty small. But he realized there too, and a big component of this is when you feel good, odds are you're gonna want to make some changes, right? You're gonna act on it. If you don't feel all that great, you don't want to make any changes. So the whole point of tiny habits, when we talk about it, is we got motivation, ability, and prompt, but we also want to celebrate, because you notice, and we all do this. What's the first thing a lot of people do at the end of the night? They beat themselves up over, oh, I didn't get this done. Oh, I didn't get that done. I didn't finish this. Never got to that. And at the end of the day, it's like, okay, that's your default mode. The default mode in your brain is like, okay, all these things I didn't do, and now all of a sudden we're losing sleep over it. So after we do any of these habits, we want to say celebrate it. It could be something super duper minor, right? For me, it's kind of like fist pump, one of those. It's like, yeah, I got it, knocked it out. Because once you start hitting the brain with those positive reinforcements, even they're tiny ones, all of a sudden you're just feeling more confidence, and that makes you want to do more. So you want to make
little rewards. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, those, and going back to that example that you had, I mean, that's a small little change that your friend, your client had, and led to so many other things. So getting those wins, it sounds like, that's something that you have a lot of success with.
Yeah. And that's what we want to do, is we want to couple all these wins together. I mean, it's, and it goes back to, instead of focusing so much on, this big thing you want to accomplish, and that's fine and dandy, but how about we just incorporate 8, 9, 10 little habits that we can put into your game plan, and then we can take that and have that for the rest of your life, right? It's the minor stuff. And that kind of goes back to the whole, you mentioned James Clear and Atomic Habits. It goes back to that whole concept. You're a Lions fan, Brent. I'm a Browns fan. Okay. You're still playing. I'm not. Okay. But we've had a lot of years of losing. Right.
Yeah.
Look at the Lions and look at the Browns. Okay. And I'll go this route too. Browns and Steelers. Okay. I hate the Steelers. I respect the Steelers, but I hate them. They're our rival. But if you look at the whole concept of goals, they both have the same goal to win the Super Bowl, the Browns and Steelers, right? And the Lions. They both have the same goal, but their systems, which means their daily habits, are completely different. The Browns, they switch coaches every 2.5 years. I think we got a decent coach now, but 2.5 years, they switch coaches. They draft a quarterback. They switch it out. They want to run the ball. They want to pass the ball. They don't know what the heck they want to do, right? And once in a while, they'll get to the playoffs and fine and dandy. But there's no system. Pittsburgh, from the top down, they have an identity. So you go from here, this is the outcome I want. We want to win the Super Bowl, or we want to lose 50 pounds, right? But it's a system, how we go about doing it. We draft well, we scout well, we have consistency in the front office. We do all these things well. We keep a coach for a long time. And basically the identity of that team is we're going to smash in the mouth. We're going to run the football.
Well, and that's a great example too, because I mean, those are habits. It's habits of the organization, habits of the team. Yeah. And, habits are so powerful. They get ingrained. Now that we have snow on the ground, you can tell where everybody's walking, right? It's like every day, here they go. There's that path. And we have those in our mind. We have those in our life. And, the more we travel those paths, those habits, starting the morning, you get the coffee, you go through the routine all over again. Changing those ingrained behaviors takes some time. How much time does something like that take? If you're changing some big behaviors, and again, you're starting small, but how long does it take to wear those new paths, do you find?
It could be something super tiny. It could take 6-7 days. There's 21 days is not, 30 days isn't going to do anything for you. It's not, it's basically what we're saying is there's a correlation when you do things daily to build the habit, but it's not a situation where it's like, 21 days is the day it locks in, because it's got to mean something to you. Right. So, but it doesn't matter how old you are. It's basically neuroplasticity. All it is basically, like you said, it's like these pathways, rivers, whatever you want to call them. There's in the brain, this is what I do. And, 45-50% of what I do daily is just kind of, I just do it. I mean, if you're driving to work and you're going the same route every day, sometimes you get there, you don't even remember getting there because it's just, you're used to doing it. So basically what it boils down to is if we can keep it simple enough, we can, a lot of times with tiny habits, we take 3 in a row, we take 3 at once. And let's see what works. Let's play around with it and we'll put something together. based on what the client wants, what that person wants to do. And so, yeah, sometimes it will take 30 days. Sometimes it will take 50 days. Sometimes it will take a little longer. But the more you do that, basically we're taking your current mindset, right? And how's that working for you right now? So that's a lot of times what you're doing. What's your current mindset around this particular subject? Maybe it's fitness. And my current mindset is, well, I don't really have time to go to the gym. I don't have time for 45-minute workouts. But then it's like, okay, well, let's look at the limiting beliefs there. Who said it has to be 45-minute workout? Oh, well, no one really said that. It's like, okay, well, does it have to be, going to the gym? Can it be something at home? Could it be something to go outside? So then all of a sudden we said, all right, well, now we have a limiting belief. What's your limiting belief around this subject? Now let's put a new belief in there. Now let's create some micro habits, tiny habits around it. Then once you start doing it and you're celebrating the fact, now all of a sudden you're building confidence because you realize, heck, if I could do this, then yeah. And now the accountability piece from coaching is a good thing. But now all of a sudden we're getting a lot of wins throughout the day, right? And once we get a lot of wins throughout the day, then that now we have a paradigm going on. That paradigm shift is now we have neuroplasticity. I don't want to get too scientific on you, but now we have new kind of rivers, streets, whatever roads in your brain.
Streams.
Rivers and lakes, specs. So now we have something that it's just something that you do and you're not even thinking about it because we created this, but it does take some time depending on what you want to do. It all depends on the person and all depends on the method you're using. So that's why it's always because every person's different.
And, and it works. I think, and we talked about this recently too. It works in reverse too. Like you may have had some really good habits that you had done for a long time. I've heard a lot of people comment just certain things that they used to do over the past 3 or 4 years have kind of fallen away. During the pandemic, our whole routines changed. A lot of our habits fell away. And, you hear people say, gosh, the last, 4 years have just kind of all run together. And, personally, I had some healthy habits that maybe have slipped a little bit because, you have people that are working from home now, their routine has been totally changed. And, those paths, they might not be the healthiest and they used to be okay. So kind of recognizing that and getting back on track is another thing because, you may have always had some healthy habits or some things that you would like to get back to. But, if you're going off course a little bit, you don't end up where you intended to go.
No, it's all about these 1% to 2% little decisions you make. You don't just become bankrupt like that. You don't just become, 80 pounds overweight like that. I mean, it's all these little things you're doing or making excuses for that result in that, or the opposite way as well too. Right? It's the opposite way as well. So it's kind of the same concept. If you want to create some healthy habits, let's first of all start adding some. But sometimes we have to go back and we mentioned motivation, ability, and prompts. But sometimes we have to untangle some. And then from that point, it's a different mindset. Now we got to go, okay, what's the prompt that's making you do this thing that you don't want to do? Let's try to work with that first. Right? And then if that works, that's fantastic. And then if not, then we look at the ability factor. How can we make this more difficult for you to do? And then the motivation. See, a lot of times people will start with motivation. We got to be motivated. This is what we need to do. Motivated. Don't do this, do this. And honestly, that's the last thing we want to start with. Right. So you see all the posts on Facebook and Instagram and everyone's in the gym and that's fantastic. But we want to make sure that, it's really the mindset as far as you have to believe that you can get this thing done, right? You have to believe you can get this thing done because if you are 45 years old and you've never had any healthy habits, and then all of a sudden you're going to go big and you're going to do all these things, consciously you can give yourself all the affirmations in the world, but subconsciously your brain is saying, dude, for 45 years, I've seen you stop something, start something, stop something, quit something, try it again, stop again. So until you actually have it in here that you actually believe it, that's where the mindset comes into play. Once we have that going, holy moly, Brent, I'm telling you right now, people can make some incredible changes because it really boils down to what your beliefs are. And sometimes we have to, and all it is basically just asking questions. Here's a situation that you're going through. What is your thoughts about it? What are you thinking about it? And not to mention, how does that make you feel? So once we have that going, it's like, oh, well, I feel about this. It's like, okay, so what are the action steps because you feel that way? Well, this is what happens. Okay, so what are the results you're getting? Not good. What are the consequences long term? Oh, okay, so let's do this thing you said you wanted to do. All of a sudden, when you talk to people, you have this situation, this positive situation. All of a sudden, okay, yeah, you can see their body language, right? Their eyes are getting brighter. They're more energized. They have a little burst of energy. And all of a sudden, okay, now this right here, how does that make you feel? Oh, man, it makes me feel great. It's like, okay, so now what do you think the action steps would be to do this? Oh, well, I do this, this, and this. Okay, so what do you think the results would be? Oh, I think the results would be pretty good. All right, so what are the consequences for this? So all of a sudden, it's like, I'm not telling you what to do. All I'm asking you is a series of questions. And as a health coach, I'm not telling you what to do. That's not my job, because I want you to know how to do this on your own, so you don't need me anymore. I'm here if you need me, but you don't need me anymore because you have the power to create this, because you're the one who came up with all the stuff you want to do anyway. So yeah, it's fun. It's like a Jedi mind trick, but it's not.
But your role as a coach, I mean, that support is so important. And, I just want to mention, if you'd like to connect with Tony and work with him and, kind of take things to the next level here, you've got your website here. And if people are looking around on your website, tonysherock.com, they're going to find a few different things that you're doing currently with your coaching.
Yeah. We got health coaching, obviously. That's one thing that is the main one, right? The main one, because we just like to get in people's heads, want to get their mindset right and work with them and really kind of fine tune this stuff. Of course, we can add personal training to that as well, too. That's virtual training. You can couple those together. But also, if you have an event going on, also do some workshops and keynote speaking as well. And keep in mind, 5-day tiny habit challenge. We can work together 5 days, and that's actually free. It's really just we just work on a habit you want to create. We're only together 5 days, but at least it gives you a taste of what this whole thing is all about. It's not all about
like a jump start.
Yeah, it's just like a jump start, right? Yeah. Because I've worked with clients too, Brent, where sometimes we didn't even get into tiny habits at all, because it's like this is it's always different with people. So, but yeah, we do a lot of those things, and of course you can follow me Facebook, Instagram, especially, because we had some good value there, I think, too.
Well, I want to say hi to everybody watching us on Facebook and YouTube right now. We have a couple of people popping in the chat. Andrew, great to hear from you. Are you able to see those comments there, Tony?
I do. Yeah, I do now. Yes, I do. Andrew Cox. Holy smokes! Wow, that's a name from the past right there.
Andrew, it's good to hear from you. Thanks for checking things out tonight, and also Vince in the chat. So good to hear from you too, Vince.
Vince, I work with. He's terrific. You need an MC in the Toledo area. He's your guy right there.
Very well. Glad you could join us tonight.
It was interesting because where I first saw him was at the Blarney 5K, and it was freezing cold that day. And the person, I was with two people, one of them busted her knee. So she said, we're going to walk this thing. And so we were the last 3 to finish because we did it all together. And he's making some comment because I had a Notre Dame jersey on. And it's like, yeah, so it's funny. And then I met him at another speaking event as well, too, where he was MC. So, yeah, very cool. And Andrew, yeah, it's good to see Andrew as well.
Very nice. Yeah, good to hear from Toledo folks, no doubt. So, and with your keynote speaking, that's kind of new for you, isn't it?
Yeah, all that sports broadcasting, radio stuff came into play. I realized that I didn't really want to talk about sports so much. I like sports, don't love it. So, so why not talk about health? And, because the main thing, with this particular thing, Brent, and I want to mention this because being 51, and I know sometimes, you see it on Facebook or you talk to people, and I know people tend to kind of, I don't know, I wouldn't say they're looking for attention, but when you're connected with people that are complaining about their health, and everyone's got stories, and I understand that, but don't use, I'm 45 and this is just what happens. I'm just letting it go. And then, you have people that you graduated with from high school and everyone's jumping in, and it's like, it's validation. I guess it's a quick dopamine hit for a lot of people. And all I'm saying is, if you're 45 years old or 50, you still got a good 25, 30, 35, maybe even 40 years of life and living left. So we want to make that quality living, and that's what it boils down to, whether it's traveling with your spouse, with your grandkids, kids, whatever the case, pets, whatever you got going on, maybe all three. But we want to make sure that, we want you to be strong, healthy, resilient, building muscle. Doesn't mean we're going Schwarzenegger at that age. We're not. But, you're talking mid-30s, we're losing bone density. We're losing muscle. We're losing it. So we want to make sure we feel good. And I think, when you surround yourself with people who are into walking or any type of fitness or any type of, brain games where you're keeping your mind active, learning new things, you hang around those people, you're going to take on some of those habits. And I think that's a valuable thing. And especially at this age too, you may have kids and you may have aging parents. And I know for me personally, that runs deep for me, because that's what you're dealing with. Aging parents, you're taking care of them, you're taking care of the kids, you're taking care of your everyday responsibilities. And some people are in jobs they don't really like, and that's another stressor. So really we just want to make sure we got to take care of you. So this is where we talk about Tiny. This is a perfect place to start, because we need to take care of yourself, because don't let yourself go. And that's one of the key things there too, because we're just trying to avoid that burnout factor. We can do it. And you just got to, get the mind right, get the accountability, get the coaching, and we could definitely do this. Anybody can do this.
Yeah, it's still early in the year. Maybe you didn't set your intentions for the year or really take action or start on the things that you wanted to do. Hopefully there's something that we talked about today that you can put into action tomorrow. A simple prompt, one little thing. One of my favorite prompts, and it wasn't even set up, but those are reminders on your phone about how much screen time you've had for the day. Yeah. That's a powerful prompt, because when that pops up, some days you just think, whoa, that's way too much.
What the heck have I been doing? Yeah, and I know we try to make it a habit as much as possible. When the 9 o'clock hour hits, cut the phones, put them away. We don't need that, because again, we value sleep, and we go back to these pillars of health and things like that. Sleep trumps everything. Sleep trumps everything. I would invite anyone to listen to Why We Sleep by Matthew Walker, I think his name is. He doesn't narrate it, but some other English guy does, and it's almost like threatening. Like, you got to get your sleep. Just like, and this British accent's just so beautiful. It's beautiful. But Why We Sleep is a great, because it tell you every single disease state, every single issue that your body is going through, sleep trumps everything. And I know it's very difficult if you're a parent of a newborn, especially a mom. But you got to get to sleep. And really, it just comes down to, okay, let's build some habits around a morning routine, an evening routine. What you do at 10 a.m. dictates how you're going to sleep. So it's all these little habits that you get that actually influences your sleep, for better or for worse. So, that's the beautiful part is you can just tie these things in, and we don't have to start all at once, and you don't have to start January 1st. You could start on February 3rd. Habits, there's no date to it. Right.
That's right. And if you do want to, work with Tony, he does have his, his free consultations and the Tiny Habits, your 5-day option there too. Take advantage of those. Those are really helpful, and get you a kickstart and get you on the right track too. And TonySherock.com is where you can connect. And of course, Facebook and Instagram. Very active on Instagram.
Yes. Yep. I was looking for the MySpace account, but apparently that's not a thing. So yeah. Instagram, Facebook is typically where I hang out. Was doing Clubhouse for a while, but that was a pandemic thing.
That had 5 minutes. That had a good 5 minutes.
Yeah. It was fun.
They come and go. Well, Tony, thank you so much for coming on to talk tonight. This is great information, and it's it's good every day of the year. So like you mentioned, it doesn't have to be just January. It's top of mind now, but habits are very powerful, and that's a great place to start when it comes to initiating some change. So great to have you on tonight, Tony.
I appreciate it, Brent. Thank you.